Community Action News with Rick Godley, CAN. Remember, when you can't, maybe together we can. Community Action News, CAN.
Rick Talk.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rick Godley alongside Doyle Jeter. We're in the Lincoln Parish Museum, and we have some information about, well, something of historical nature that's going to happen on Friday night, July 18th, and you are encouraged to come on out. It will be number 25 of the Northeast Louisiana Music Trail Markers. Doyle Jeter, the visionary to get it, some of the inspiration and a lot of the perspiration, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's go back and dial it back to like when and where this came up, and then let's talk about the early stages, and then we'll get to the detail.
Well, yeah, and I'll try to give the short version. I do a lot of these interviews with the radio and all, but really moving down here in 1969 from some of your old haunts area, Pennsylvania, New York area, although I was born in Louisiana, moving down here in 69, I thought I knew it all. I was only 16. And, you know, I'm thinking there's not going to be any music down here. And I found out within 2 weeks, I met people like Kenny Bill Stinson and Mike Rhodes, Danny Rhodes, Jimmy Steele. And I found out within 2 weeks of moving here that not only was the music here in Northeast Louisiana as good, but better than what I was used to hearing. Again, I was a kid. But since that time, the whole time I'm thinking, God, somebody needs to recognize this. And I was, I didn't know anything at that point. But move along many years later, we opened Enoch's in 1980. So we're in our 46th year of presenting live music in this area. It had always been a hope, especially when the Mississippi Blues Trail came out. I was like, this makes sense. Do historical markers that we can honor. But the idea was to just honor like 5 or 6 people we knew. Mm-hmm. Now, here we are, as you mentioned, 2.5 years into the beginning of unveiling these things. We've got 25 markers, and we probably have 10, 11 more that are in motion. There'll be more after that. But yeah, about 8 years ago, I started getting serious about it and thinking we can make this happen. We can do a smaller version. COVID hit, life hit, and about 5 years ago, we started really getting serious, my daughter and I mostly, investigating where to get markers made, what the legalities were, making a list of people that we wanted to honor. And again, 2.5 years ago, a little over 2.5 years ago, we unveiled our first marker in Winsboro, Louisiana, for Fred Carter Jr., who was a friend. Again, it was going to be like 5 or 6 friends, but thank God thank God it took off. Communities jumped on it. No matter where I've been going, Ruston is a prime example, Lincoln Parish. I have literally not worked with kinder, more enthusiastic people than Amanda and the people at the chamber. And that had a lot to do with you. I mean, you were when I started thinking about doing this over here, which I've been thinking for many years, we've got to do one for Ruston, the Sundown and Judge McGee predominantly. And when I came to ask you what you thought about it, you introduced me to the mayor, Amanda, the folks at the Chamber Tourism Commission for Lincoln Parish. And I mean, within, I think that day, Amanda said, we're in. We're going to help with this. We went through the process, grant writing, et cetera, but it's just been a pure joy. And that's been the case. Every community we have gone to has, on different levels, have said, yes, we want to do this. How do we make it happen?
Right.
It's always a part of it is always about the money, because you have to pay for these things. Mm-hmm. But, knock on wood, so far, I mean, it's been a challenge at times, but we've been very lucky and blessed. The money comes along in different forms. We just received another grant from the state, Cooperative Endeavor Grant. They're not tons of money, but they sure help us put the seed money out there in smaller communities, communities like Newellton that have no money.
Right.
You know,
Newellton and down in Catahoula Parish. Where'd you go down there?
well, we haven't. Catahoula is actually out of our jurisdiction.
Didn't you do one though for the guy Louie or what?
No, that's in Franklin Parish for Richard Berry.
Richard Berry.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Well, no, I mean, it's funny because when I said our territory is the 12 parish region, it's kind of, my friends at the Arts Council will probably laugh, maybe get a little miffed, but I made that up because I figured we need to stay within our community, Northeast Louisiana. It was the perfect map, if you will.
Right.
And I mean, you know this as well as I do. There are so many people in Northeast Louisiana that are deserving of these markers. It just blows your mind.
Well, wasn't it Kenny Bill Stinson? He's the one that said, Doyle, if you put a pin in Monroe and go 60 miles out and draw a circle, you're going to find the heart and the soul and the genesis of all sorts of music, from the blues to soul to rockabilly,
Absolutely
country.
True. Yeah, it's true. I mean, and go further than that, within 300 miles either way, going up to Memphis and, you know, going over to Dallas and Meridian and New Orleans, Lafayette. I mean, you know, Professor Longhair, I think he's attributed with this as saying, I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive that all music was invented in Louisiana. You know, got to throw Mississippi in there too. But
Sure.
Yeah, and we have more than our fair share of this area. The history connected, just Fred Carter Jr. alone, the people that he's played with. And, you know, he was an original member of the band with the Hawks. It's just crazy, the people that come out of this area.
The mission of the Northeast Louisiana Music Trail to honor the rich musical heritage of Northeast Louisiana by recognizing and celebrating the musician, music, places, stories, and the people who make up this special area of the world. And so we're going to put a literal pin in the ground on Friday night. It'll be the 18th, 5:30, Railroad Park, marker number 25.
Yep.
Now, this is going to honor music venues and musicians of Lincoln Parish. And when you called me, I said it's a perfect idea. What made you to go? Because some places there's just one marker for one person.
Right.
This is a marker of multi-levels.
It is, and we have had another instance where we did this, where we honored venues and musicians, but it was a combined. In this case, you know, there was enough information and enough musicians and venues that we just had to do. We could do 10 signs here, 10 markers. That's always the case. But you and Susan Roach and Peter Jones, Monty Russell, our friend Mike Manning up in Nashville at Country Music Hall of Fame, you guys are folks that are go-to people that I talk to and say, we make a list, we say, who can we get on here? We justify it, we make real sure that it's legit. We've had instances where we find out that the musician that people want on there they're not from here, which is not the total condition of being on the marker, but they just never really had as an influence like we had thought, let's say. Now, that's a sticky wicket because I always say, for example, we did a marker unveiling for Lainey Wilson back in November. Worldwide attention, literally. RFD in Ireland and all over the planet. But I never lose sight of the fact, and I know you're with me on this, we also do a marker like in Tallulah for Rufus Rip Wimberly. Nobody knew him outside of Tallulah, basically, even though he was an influence and worked with people like Willie Dixon, you know, and some people like that. But to me, those folks are as important as a Lainey Wilson or anybody else.
Sure.
And I think Lainey Wilson would agree to this. She's very proud of the fact that she's from this area. It's been a real boost to our project, to be quite honest. But yeah, I get a bigger kick, quite honestly, I get a bigger kick out of the folks that are local. Gene King, Gene Stewart, you know.
Tony Joe White.
Tony Joe White, who, you know, pretty well-known cat. But it's wonderful to be able to go to smaller. Now, Ruston's not a small town anymore.
No.
Ruston's like one of the most thriving places
It's
going.
it's pretty vibrant.
Oh, it's awesome. But going into a community like Newellton that have nothing, and being able to put a marker there for Pee Wee Whitaker, a major influence on so many performers. And to be able to do that and to be able to walk into this community with money in hand, not a lot, but part of our grant money, and say, we have this much to put towards this marker. Can you help with pick up the rest? This is not a money-making operation. Right. I lose money on it. I shouldn't say that, but it's true. We don't make money on it. We get publicity out of it. I always get my cheap plug in, but Enoch's Pub and Cafe is the founder of this project. I'm the director, if you will, the herding cats. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love, and it takes 100 people on every one of them to make it happen. Again, folks like you and everybody that's involved. I couldn't do it by myself. I mean, that's an old cliche.
Right.
But on the other hand, it takes one person to spearhead an operation like this and to make it work. Because everybody's busy.
Sure. Oh yeah, but it's going to be done. And
yeah, I'm retired now.
Yeah, right. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
5:30, July 18th. Bring your family, bring your friends, meet strangers, become friends. And I love the location because I remember the original conversation is going to be in Railroad Park, a source of music venue over the traditions of, Ruston. And then it's on the northeast corner, so you can see the Dixie Theater, you can see Sundown, you can see KRUS. And so that's where this marker is going to go. And there'll be an after party at sundown. And so let's talk about Bruce Van Zandt, because right from the get-go, we need to recognize Bruce. Bruce has just passed away. So, I mean, talk about honor and fitting.
Yeah, it breaks my heart that Bruce isn't around to see this. So, we all know he was not doing too well. We were friends, but, Bruce was an interesting cat. To say the least. We were friends, but not that close. We had a respect for each other because we both had music venues. But he was an influence on so many people in this area. I was influenced by what he did simply because I was able to go to the sundown to get away from my business, or to get away. They opened before we did, but so I was able to make friends and share some of the music. But yeah, I always wanted to make sure that, like I mentioned, originally the idea was to have a marker that had Judge McGee on one side and Sundown on the other. And it became apparent that no, we had to expand on this for any number of reasons. But so the idea was always there to honor the sundown in particular. And here we are, we're able to do this. And I'm not going to give it away, but there is a mention on the marker that a lot of Bruce's old friends, I think, will get a big kick out of.
All right.
And, what is going to happen, however, is 5:30, we're asking people to show up. It's on a Friday, so after work. And we're going to be doing all the speeches, the dignitaries, the thank yous. We're going to walk across the street, literally unveil the marker. And then after that, D.K. Harrell and Monty Russell and a group of God knows who's going to play are going to show up and pay a little bit of a tribute and pick some music. It's going to be fun.
It's a party town, so
we always have an event, a music event connected to these unveilings. But this one's going to be special.
Very special. Yeah. Rain or shine, it's going to happen because the marker's going in the ground, and then the after party at sundown as D.K. Harrell, Monty Russell, and whoever else. Yeah. We have no idea.
But again, we're meeting at the sundown first. So
okay.
We'll have, a kind of a gathering of people. We're hoping a whole lot of
a mini parade down there.
I asked Amanda if they would get a couple of police officers to help because we don't want to just take over the street. But I'm really hoping from the heart that a lot of the old sundown crowd you worked there.
Me and Jill made the first sandwiches there.
All the old sundown crowd that are still around, Mary Kay Morris and Charlie Meads, Joni Poole, and everybody that used to hang out there, that they all come and pay tribute to Bruce and to all the music venues from around here.
Right.
All the music, it's all connected.
Yeah.
You know that.
It is.
Eddie Haymaker's guitars, and it's a shame. We're a similar age group, but we're losing so many people. And what you do here is a key to the future on so many levels. We're trying to do our own part to remind people there is a history here, and we're going to lose it. It is a cliche. We're going to lose it. I had no idea when I started looking at music venues. I knew about 3 or 4. And I mentioned to DK Harrell, having a hard time including any Black/African-American venues. Were there any?
And
knowing full well there had to be.
Very much so.
Had to be.
Yep.
And DK says, well, my grandmother owned Lurlene's place on Alabama. And I went, you're kidding. So that got me real excited. But again, this marker, it includes, I'm kind of reading ahead, Rick, this includes not just Ruston. It includes, we mentioned Grambling on the marker. We mentioned, I got a joy out of putting Vienna Town Hall, where all the great bluegrass sessions were. A lot of our friends played. And the Dubach Chicken Fest, I mean, a lot of people love it, and it brings in the community. It makes it that it's more about Lincoln Parish, and brings and Grambling.
Right.
We're going to be doing a marker in Grambling this next year, so
Good.
We'll keep in touch.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll be all over that as well, because we're the Lincoln Parish Museum.
That's right.
Ruston Museum.
That's right.
Doyle Jeter, I appreciate all that you do, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, it's not, I appreciate the thank yous from people, but it does, again, I use a lot of cliches, obviously, but it does. It takes a village, as they say. You can't do it all by yourself. Money is, that is the bottom line, but it's not the be-all, end-all. We're doing this because we believe in it, you believe in it, and golly, for better or worse, we're all friends with musicians and grew up with them, by osmosis. But
we'll save that topic for
we can't talk about too much of that. But thank God, and people like Bruce Gay and people like that have been my best friends over the years, and it's an honor to do this for the musicians and the music venues. It's a great part of the world.
Yeah. All right, so let's look for a big crowd showing up Friday night at the Sundown. Then we walk at 5:30 to Railroad Park.
6.
Reveal the park. What?
A little later.
Oh, okay. At 6, and then we'll reveal that. Come back and have an after party.
That's all right. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So come join us.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Good night.